Good morning. So today we will continue with the part 1C, which is the VMC setup. Under this VMC setup, these are the steps that we will do. First of all, we will set up the ESXi VNIC and we will import the VMC1, VMC2 to ESXi. And we do the initial configuration using the CLI. And then we move to the basic configuration via the GUI. So let's go to the first step, configure ESXi vSwitch and port group setting. Log into your vSphere. So this is my vSphere setting. I will go to the setup and network. Under the network, I will take a look at what are the port group and vSwitch there. Right, so to configure the new port group or vSwitch for this VMC, go to configure tab and virtual switch. Now there is few things need to take note here. Under this setting for the VMC, please take note that we will do the AO2.1Q means VLAN trunking for the port from the VMC connect uplink. It means that the VMC will connect to the switch, the core switch via the VLAN trunking. So that's why when we configure the port group or the vSwitch under the vSphere, we need to use a special VLAN ID. Now let's do it. Go here, click Add Networking, and then we choose a virtual machine port group for standard switch. Then we click Next. Select existing standard switch. This will be the uplink you choose. So in my lab, the uplink from my vSphere to the core switch is the VNIC core uplink G1/0/7. I name it this way so it will be easier for me to read and to recognize and to choose the correct VNIC. Click OK and click Next. Now, in this case, I will choose it VLAN trunk. Right. Now, to configure VLAN trunking for the vSphere, you have to key in the VLAN ID 494095. Okay, click Next and finish. Now take a look at that one. You click here and you see the VLAN trunk. It's here. Okay. Now it's important to take note that for the VMC and VMM setting, even the clear path, right, we will need to run the VRRP later. So for VRP to be able to function properly, we need to go to edit setting of the port group and allow the promiscuous mode, MAC address changes, and false transits. So these are three settings you have to turn it on to make sure that it works properly. Alright, there's few ways you can do it under the port group or you can do it directly under your vSwitch. You go to your vSwitch here under edit and security. You can do the same thing that I already done here. Okay. Alright, so we already have the VNIC set up properly and port group set up properly. We will go to the download the VMC. We go to our Aruba support portal, software and document, mobility controller, filter the software, and now we will choose the Aruba virtual mobility controller. Choose the version 8.6 and choose the latest version 8.6.0.6 and choose the type is OVA. So this could be the correct file or image that you should download. So I already downloaded it. into my computer and it here. Okay, next step we will import the VMC to ESXi. Now go to your ESXi, or in my case vCenter. I will right click on the host and I choose deploy OVF template. Choose local file and choose the file VMC. Click open and click next. Choose the correct folder, which is the CPPM AOS8 lab folder. If you don't have the vCenter, you may not see this option, so you can just put it under your host. So I will name it GRP8 VMC1. So this is my first VMC. Click next. Next. So this will be the first VMC. Next. Choose the second storage and choose thin provisioning. Next. Network. VM network. I will choose the VLAN trunk. And next. And finish. Okay, so we have done for the first VMC, and let's take a look at our VMC. Now it is deploying. So while waiting for the first VMC to be deployed, we will do the provision for the second VMC. Okay, same step, local file, choose file, VMC, click next, GRP8, VMC2, click next, next. Okay, next. Second, storage, thin provisioning, next. Choose the correct nick, which is the VLAN trunk, next, and finish. Okay, so as you can see from here, the VMC 1 and 2 are here. So VMC 1 already been provisioned successfully. We can right click on VMC 1 and choose edit setting. So as you can see from here, right, network adapter 1, which is this is the management interface. From network adapter 2 is a port 0/0/0. So we just click OK and power on this VMC1. VMC2 also already provisioned successfully. We can power on VMC2. Sounds like okay. Sounds like VMC 2 is here. Power on. Okay, so let's console to VMC1 and console to VMC2. So while waiting for the VMC1 and 2 to boot up, we will see what could be the next step we will do here. Okay, so we already done the import VMC to ESXi. Then we need to wait for the VMC to be to to boot up successfully. Then we do the initial configuration. Okay, so we can choose the setting called full setup, FULL. Are you sure that you want to stop auto provisioning and start full setup dialog? Yes. Alright, so this is the first step. We need to set the system name for the VMC1. So our system name format could be a GRP, group ID, GRP8, VMC1. Switch role, MD, because of this will be under managed by MM. Enter IP type to terminate the IPsec tunnel or secure web socket connection, IPv4. Enter master switch, which is your VMM1 IP address 172.25.8.58. Master switch type is MM. ACP is for the Aruba Central platform. Is it a VPN concentrator for managed device to reach the master switch? No. We don't have any VMC between the VM. We don't have any VPNC for VNC connect to MM. This device connect to master switch via VPN concentrator? No. Is master switch virtual mobility master? Yes. Master switch authentication method PSK with IP. Now, IPsec pre-share key, it is the key that we configured on VMM in the VMM video, which is Aruba at 123, A capital. Re-enter the key, Aruba at 123. Do you want to enable L3 redundancy? No, we don't enable this feature. Now, enter uplink VLAN ID. For the VMC, we will configure as the trunk. The port is trunk. So the uplink VLAN ID in this case, it will be VLAN 2908. Right, as you can see from here, the trunking is port 000, but the IP address belongs to VLAN 2908, so we will set it to VLAN 2908. Uplink port GE000, leave it there. Now this one is VMC. Like I mentioned, we need to configure trunk. So the reason we have to configure trunk is because of we have multiple VLAN for multiple SSID that we will allow over this trunk from the VMC to the core switch. Native VLAN, leave it default VLAN 1 because I configured VLAN 1 on the core switch is the native VLAN. Now this is IP address we assign for this VMC. Choose static and IP address 172.25.8.51. Let's double confirm. Yes, so this is the first one. And subnet mask 24, correct. Gateway 172.25.8.254. DNS 172.25.29.41. IPv6 to turn on? No. Turn on the dynamic port channel? No. Country code SG for Singapore? Yes. Time zone Asia Singapore/Singapore. Now is 10:26, so I need to switch the time a bit. 02:27:00. Date 26 October 2020. Yes, create a admin account. Aruba at 123. Aruba at 123. Accept the changes. Yes. So now the VMC1, we applied the setting we just configured there and it will reboot with that new setting. Let's continue with the VMC2. Choose full setup. Yes, to stop provisioning, auto provisioning. And the name GRP8 VMC2 MD role IPv4. And enter the VMM IP 172.25.8.58. Master switch type is MM, correct? No VPNC. No. VPNC. Is master switch virtual mobility master? Yes. Master switch authentication method. We share key with IP. Aruba AOS8 is a key. Layer 3 redundancy enabled? No. Uplink VLAN ID to 908. Port uplink port 0/0/0. Port mode trunk. VLAN native VLAN 1. IP address of the VMC static 172.25.8.52. Let's double confirm. So correct 52. Total mask /24 means then 255.255.255.0. Gateway 172.16 .25.8.254. DNS server 172.25.29.41. IPv6 configured on VLAN? No. Debit port channel? No. Country code SG for Singapore? Yes. Time zone Asia/Singapore. Time in UTC 02:29:00. Date correct and admin account? Yes. Aruba @123. Aruba @123. Accept the changes? Yes. So we have done the initial configuration for VMC1 and VMC2. Okay, so as we can see from here, VMC1 already boot up successfully. So now we can move to our next step, which is set up the VMC1 and VMC2 basic configuration via the GUI. Alright, so for setup VMC1 and VMC2 via the GUI, we need to do it from the VMM. That's because of in AOS 8, VMC and VMC once it joined and to be under managed by VMM, all the configuration of the VMC will be done from VMM. So let's log into VMM and take a look. Okay, so we see one of the controller try to join to this one already. We need to wait for a while. At the same time, you can SSH to VMM to do some monitoring from the command line interface. So in this one, I use the software called Mobile Xterm. SSH admin 172.25.8.58. This is the VMM. Login. Now we can show switches. So we notice that the VMC1 is already joined to VMM successfully. Okay, so we need to wait for VMC2 to join. We can check some log. Okay, and log error 20. Show switches. We go back to the GUI and we see that the VMC1 is already up. And if you notice the VMC1, it is put under the folder called LAN cluster. So this one is because of in the previous step when we configure MM, you also notice that we configure auto parking feature, right? So any new VMC or MC, when it try to join to this control with this MM, it will be put under this folder. So once we have both VMC 1 and 2 join to this one, then we can move to next step. So let's wait for a while for VMC 2 to join to this one. Go to CUI and check show switches. Okay, let's wait for a while. At the same time, let's check some licensing. Show license. Summary. We have no license yet. Show license. Server table. Show license client table. Okay, so as you can see from here, we got the license from from my VMM, right? So it's already fully enabled. Show switches. All right, so let's wait for a while. VMC1 is down. Show IP route. Show log, error log 20. Okay. So license. So license pool profile root. Okay, so let's take a look at our license table here. License. So it's connected successfully. All right, so everything is working fine. License inventory. Okay, we don't really use this feature. That's because we are using the license server. Okay. So as you can see from here, the it consumes 2 license, uh, one for each VMC. Okay. So let's check again. Show switches. Okay, so we can see 2 VMC are up. Show IP. If you show IP route, you will notice that it's already have the default route point to gateway, right, and the route to the network 172.105.8.0, and what the route point to the VMC2. Show IP route. Okay, so switches. Okay, so that's all for our setup. Now, to do the basic configuration for the VMC, we can do it from VMM. All right. So we go to VMM under. So what we have done under this group setting, it will be pushed down to the VMC 1 and 2. Right. However, there's few setting like clock. We have to do it from the node level or device level. So this one is the clock. Right. So it's already in setup, and take a look at this one. Already been done. The next step is that we need to turn on the CPSec feature, and in the lab we will turn on the auto cert provisioning. So when we do this, the AP can join to this controller without manually whitelist. And the next step is that under the service and the firewall, we will turn on the feature called firewall visibility and deep packet inspection, and we can turn on the web content classification, right? So when we turn on this feature, it will require the VMC 1 and 2 to be rebooted. Right, we can go here, go to maintenance. So from here we can do the firmware upgrade, right? Okay, so let's reboot VMC1 and VMC2. There are a few ways to reboot this one. Let me try boot system. No, this one's we do from the we can go to from VMM we can use command cd and go to grp8 VMC1, and then we use command mdc mdconnect. This one it will basically from VMM it will SSH securely to VMC, and now we are under the VMC1 interface. Then you can reboot from here, right? So this is one way. Another way is you can SSH directly to VMC admin. Now we try to reboot the VMC2 35.8.52 at 123. We can reboot. Okay, so cd mm. Alright, so that are the basic configuration, right, of the VMC1 and 2.